Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello dear learners, welcome to the session of Managing Equality and Diversity. I am Dr. Supriya Jain, working as an Associate Professor at GLA University, Mathura. So in this session, we will be having our discussion broadly on OB models and diversity in organization. So if you look at the topics, what we are going to have our discussion on, we will start with the OB models, then we will have our discussion on diversity, discrimination, biographical characteristics we will be talking about. Thereafter, we will be having other differentiating characteristics which we will discuss. Ability concept we will explore in this session, and lastly we will be talking about implementing diversity management strategy. So if you look at the learning objective of this session, by the end of this session you will all be able to explain how organizations function and how employees behave within them. So the understanding of OB models will help you in understanding the organization's functions, as well as based on those models how organization employees are going to behave. Thereafter, you will be able to describe the two major forms of workforce diversity. Then after this, you will be able to demonstrate how workplace discrimination undermines organizational effectiveness. If the organization is dealing more into the aspect of diversity, then definitely it will affect the organization effectiveness. By the end, you will be able to describe how the key biological characteristics are relevant to the OB. You will also be able to explain how differentiating characteristic factors into OB. You will be able to demonstrate the relevance of intellectual and physical abilities of organization behavior. And finally, you will be able to describe how organization manages diversity effectively. So these would be the learning objective of the session. So we are going to start with the OB models, and firstly we will be discussing on autocratic model. So the word this autocratic will already have an understanding of this model, where this model works on the basis of power. Right, where the managers show their power in dealing their employees. So this model based on authority. So authority here and power means whatever the work is being given to the employees, it is being expected that they would be doing it as in what is being stated. If you look at the managerial orientation, this is purely based on command and control. Here the employees are being treated as, the workforce, where the organizational perspective needs to be attained by hook and crook. Here the employees orientation would be obedience. Every of the employees would be following their managers as per their given commands. Definitely the employee needs are basic, like it should be like basic needs like salaries would be given to them for accomplishing the work which has been assigned to them. Subsistence will be there, but definitely the performance result would be minimum. As we are talking about this model in an autocratic form, where authority and power forces the employees to accomplish these tasks, and fear of employees will only be to the point where they could be able to listen to what is being said to them. So here the performance result is very minimum. If you look at the example where such a kind of models are being performed, are mostly in the military style organization, or usually we follow such practices in the traditional factories. So employee work because they fear the consequences of not working, or maybe they are being given punishments, or they fear that their jobs would be they would be losing their jobs. So this is the very first model where the organization creates a kind of a setup and they enforces the employees to do whatever is being given. Another model is known as custodial model. So this is the economic, the basic resources which are being given in this particular, setup are the job security as well as the benefit. So as we can see in the previous model, as people were able to follow the command just because of the fear, right? It is a kind of that they have that kind of an understanding where the punishment would be given to them or they might be losing their jobs. But here in the custodial model, they are being provided with the job security as well as the benefits of doing work. They would be given certain kinds of benefits. So here the managerial orientation will be money as well as the benefits. Okay. So the money and benefits will be given to the employees, and money is being considered as the most important factor here to motivate the employees and make them do whatever the management is looking forward for. Here the employee orientation would be security as well as dependency. Definitely they feel secure, but they are more depend on whatever the management is giving them the command. Definitely here the employees, this kind of satisfaction they would be getting, they are being satisfied with the job, right, and they would be having this kind of a security that their jobs are safe. If you look at the performance result, that is passive cooperation, right. So they until and up till the time they are getting the benefits, the money is being given to them, their job is being secure, then they are performing accordingly. So organizations who are offering job security as well as the welfare benefits to their employees, leading employees to feel safe but not necessarily motivated. So one thing which we need to understand here with this custodial model, definitely the employees are trying to perform as per the motivation, as per the security being given to them, but they are not very much motivated towards the task. Moving further in the same line, we have supportive model. Supportive model is basically based on the leadership. So it is the model where leaders plays a very important role, and the way leader behave will define the performance of the whole work. Here the managerial orientation would be in the form of a support of a leader, and employee orientation is based on job performance and the participation of the activities which are being provided to them. If you look at the employees' need met, that is the status and recognition, because whatever the work they are doing, it is helping them to gain the status, and this is also helping them to get the recognitions in the organization, because that is more on the basis of the performance, and the orientation as is being based on the leadership. So right guidance from the leader is helping them to attain their objectives. Performance result is awakened derives. They are more awakened, they are more thoughtful, they are more understanding with the aspects like what is to be done, because here they are not only being commanded, they are not only being told if you will be doing this much then this would be getting to you. Here the mindset of the employees are being framed up in understanding what is being required and how they are going to perform. So focus is on inspiring employees, as you can see, and that is why whatever the result we would be getting is in the form of awakened drives, and they would be more having understanding of what is to be done. So here we are having inspiring the employees by recognizing their contribution and supporting their growth. So light leader obviously affect the lot of aspects on the performance of an employee. Thereafter comes the collegial model. So basis of this collegial model is partnership, right. It is basically a teamwork where the people work together and they are getting the support of each other, how the work going to be accomplished. So here the employee orientation is more towards self-discipline and responsible behavior. Since they are working in the team, they are working together, so they need to be more disciplined and they have to be more careful about their behavior which they are representing. Employee feels self-actualized, right, because when you are working with the people, then you would be able to explore new aspects of yourself, where you could also be told to accomplish the challenging roles, and you would be enhancing doing those things which you were not able to do individually. And we generally say that organization activities are group activities where group cohesion and group functioning is very important to be taken care of. So here the performance result is moderate enthusiasm is there amongst the employees, and manager employees see each other as a partner. Okay. So, this is also a very good model which could be applied in the organization, because the employees and the managers work as a partner, which is the requirements of today's time. If we really want to see our organizational to be successful, then it is to be taken up. So, promoting a sense of ownership as well as accountability is the aspect of collegial model, where we are trying to make our employees understand how to take the ownership. It is all about the ownership. If the employees have started taking the ownership of the work, then half of the work would be done. Then we need not have to tell them again and again what is to be done and what not to be done. So, accountability is being said, they themselves will be able to recognize their responsibilities, their jobs, and they would be delivering the best which is being required. Coming to the system model, this model is based on trust, share vision as well as the values amongst the employees, which is being stated. Here the managerial orientation based on the care and compassion. This is again a very good model which is considering the organization as a system, because all the activities of an organization are interrelated. So, if our employer has been taken up by the care and compassion, then the management would be able to get the best of them. Employee orientation is more into the psychological ownership, where they have this understanding that employees are having the understanding that employer would be there to support them. If you can understand the scientific management theory, where the mental revolution was one thing which was stated by scientific management theory, that it is in the mind, right. If the employees have this psychological orientation, and lot of studies in today's times are also being done in having this psychological contract, where which kind of a mutual trust is being built up among the employer and the employee to work for each other. Employee meet needs could be considered as meaningful as well as purpose. They are clear with for what purpose, and they would be getting some kind of a meaningful results for their behavior, and employees would be passionate in their commitments. Okay. So, if this kind of a model we would be able to implement in the organization, then organization would be able to get good results. Employees are empowered with this model, trusted and aligned with the organization values as well as purposes. So, as you can see, the models which we are talking right now will help you in understanding what kind of a system we are creating, what kind of a culture we are creating in our organization, and based on the basis we are keeping up for keeping our employees in the organization will help us to get the desired result. I understand that all organizations are not same, nature of work are different, complexities of organizations are different. So, at the level of management we need to understand what is our job and what kind of requirements we are having. Accordingly, we should be adopting such models in the organizations to get our result. Continuing in the same, we have contingency model as well. Like I said just now, things are not same, situations are not same, right. So, it is basically a model which is usually based on the situation, as we have different kind of a situations at different point of time. And the key idea implementing this model is one size fits all, no one size fits all. Okay. So, one has to understand what is best in a certain situations, accordingly we have to using those strategies at different point of time. So, leadership and OB depends on internal as well as external variable. Okay. We all know nothing is permanent, only thing which is permanent is the change, right. So, internal factors are also changing, external factors are also continuously changing. So, looking at this contingency model does not fixed on a basic approach or a specific approach, rather I should say. It is based on the situation, right, where we are keeping this quotient in our mind, no one size fits for all. So, example of such factors could be environment. As we all know, environmental changes take place round the clock, technological advancements are taking up, structural changes are taking place, task type are changing, employee maturity levels are different. So, different situations require different leadership and different motivational approach. So, keeping yourself fixed to a specific leadership approach or a motivational understanding is not going to give you the results. You have to understand what needs to be taken up, and that is the definition of a manager, that is the definition of a leader who could be able to understand how to handle these situations at a point of time. Thereafter, we have this human relations model. You must have heard of this, person named as Alton Mayo, who brings up with the understanding of Hawthorne experiment. So, this particular model is being derived from the Hawthorne studies, where before this understanding, people were considered to be as machine, more towards scientific way of dealing with the people. But now we have understood that employees are very, very important for any organization, and the success of any organization depends on people. So, it is the human relation approach which needs to be taken up. We have to deal with the people as a humanitarian ground, and we need to understand what are their requirements, how to motivate them, how to communicate with them, how to enhance their morale, how to make them participative in the organization will bring out the better results. So, the initial models which we have talked about, autocratic, supportive, collegial, right, these are the basic understandings of the OB, okay, which were used in the previous time. But now if we talk about in the present era, we are more towards this contingency approach, towards system approach, as well as toward human behavior approach or human relations approach, where we have to work according to these situations, where we have to keep these humanitarian aspects with our employees, taking care of employees, and their interpersonal relationship is going to define the success of any organization. So, here the employees are being motivated by their social needs and respond well to the attention and groups belonging. And then finally, we have this cognitive model. Cognitive model, you can say, is based on the understanding of an individual, where employee perception, thoughts and mental processes. So, cognitive means the way you are thinking, the way you are understanding the situation. So, key idea based behind this model is people behave based on how they interpret the environment. So, in this we can say that if you have understood the situation correctly, if you have understood the change taking place in the organization correctly, then you would be able to react in a right manner. Okay. So, people behavior based on their interpretation. So, right set of peoples are required. They need to be very, very clear with their abilities and cognitive mindset of the situations, and they have to deal with the things accordingly. So, here what tools we are used related to the cognitive mapping. We are talking about attribute theories and decision making models. This particular model focuses on understanding how employee thinks, perceive fairness and make judgment at work. So, I hope you are also able to understand the differences we are making one by one, understanding these models. So, ultimately our objective is to make them independent. I hope you must have heard of this word intrapreneur. Intrapreneur is a person who is taking the ownership of somebody else's business, working accordingly, dealing with these situations, and is also taking care of different aspects where they are bringing their own creativity and innovations to the work and helping the organizations to reach to the success. Now, here I have keep these model at a glance for the better understanding what all models we have discussed and what are their focuses and what outcomes we would be getting implying these models. So, initial 4 model, like I told about, the autocratic, custodial, supportive and collegial models are our standard models which were used in a traditional setup. And here if you look at the performance, definitely in autocratic model the performance was very, very minimum. In custodial it is passive cooperations among the employees. Then supportive, definitely it increased the performance, and collegial, moderate enthusiasm in there. But if you talk about present time, more of the organizations are focusing on implementing system model, contingency model, human relations as well as cognitive approach, where the employees are more passionate towards their commitment, they could be able to adapt the performance, their improved morale will be there, and there would be an thoughtful engagement. If you look at the model application of these particular models in different organizations, so here I am with some examples, like autocratic model is used by the company names at Foxconn, where strict control and command structures they are following. So it is not that which model is best amongst all, it depends upon the organization, it depends upon the kind of a system we are having, what kind of leadership style we need to implement. As we generally say that leadership styles are of three, one is autocratic style, the other one is called as participative style, and the third one is called as free rein style. So it is not like which leadership style is best among all. Leadership style is best as per the situation, the people we are leading, right. So if you are dealing with the top management, then definitely free rein style would be a better style, but if you are dealing with the lower level management where you do not want them to put up their mind and do work accordingly to bring standardization in the work, then definitely autocratic style of leadership is fruitful. So here we have the understanding of these model based on the results we want to produce and what kind of aspects we are looking forward for. So custodial styles is model is usually being opted by the General Motors. Then we have supportive model where Southwest Airlines are following this model. Google is more towards collegial because their teamwork is of more importance. Then we have Patagonia, where the system style approach is being used as they are purpose driven and they are trust based organizational design. Contingency model is usually being taken up by the General Electric company, where they are more towards flexible management style based on their situation. ZAPOPS uses the human relations approach, they keep their employees with that understanding where they are keeping the well-being of their employees and they are focusing on employees relationship. And in today's time, Adobe is using this cognitive style where we want our employees to be thoughtful, right, where we want our employees to be having the understanding of the situation, where we need not have to tell them, they perceive the situations in the right manner and work accordingly. So I hope these OB models are all clear to all of you, where we have the understanding from the basic understanding of the autocratic model to the cognitive style of managing the organization. So now moving to the second part of our session, where we are going to have our understanding on diversity. Diversity, as we all know, is a very important topic to be discussed in today's time. We are each of us unique, we all know, but our uniqueness is obvious enough, but employees and managers often do not recognize, appreciate and manage individual differences to forge inclusive and productive workplace. So it is something which we need to understand that diversity is very important for any organization to be successful in today's time, because like-minded people think alike. Okay, so it is important from the organization's perspective to be more creative, to be more innovative, we need diversity. So each person has a different set of skills, they have different mindset, they have different perception, and the way they are perceiving different things will bring out the best solutions to any problem. So diversity has different levels. Let us understand the level of diversity. We have comprised it into two parts. One is called as surface level diversity and then we have deep level diversity. So let me help you in understanding how they are different from each other and what they actually refers to. Surface level diversity is the difference which is very much visible from the surface. That is why we call it as in surface level diversity. As you can see, the difference in their gender, race, ethnicity, age, disability. So things which are very much clear to differentiate from a very initial instance would comes under the surface level diversity. But deep level diversity is when you will be getting more into the detail of the individual, you would be able to figure out whether these two individuals are different or they are alike. Like let me give you an example. Two people from different countries, two people from different religions, two people from different, having different age, their difference in their genders, coming to the organization, right? and our general perceptions toward these two people would be that they are different from each other, because nothing is been common into them, right, looking at the surface level diversity. But when they both comes in the organization and started working together, right, and then gradually when we get to know about more them, about them, we got to know that they are thinking alike, like their way of understanding is similar, the way of their performance is similar. So deep level diversity might help you in understanding how they could be placed together to work together, since in the organization we have to work with each other. So it is important for the organization to understand how well these people are going to fit, okay, how well they would be able to understand each other, how well they are having the belief together, okay. So deep level diversity, difference in their values, difference in their personalities and work preference, that become progressively more important for determining the similarity as people get to know one another better. So this kind of diversity, deep level diversity, could not be clear from the surface. We need to communicate more with the employees, we need to know them better, then only we could be able to differentiate. Now the next part where we are going to have our understanding on the biographical characteristics, where we would have the understanding how people are different from each other. So biographical characteristic includes the age, the gender, the identity, race, ethnicity. These are some of the basic points where we try to differentiate among people. And the personal characteristics of age, gender, race, ethnicity are the objective and easily obtained for personal record, okay. So the kind of biological characteristics, if we talk about, comes under the surface level diversity, because these are the aspects which could be easily find out in the people, right. If we want to know about their age, we can get to know very easily about their gender, about their identity, their race, ethnicity. So these comes under the surface level diversity, but to know more about these people, what kind of value system they are having, what sort of personality they are having, what is their long term perspective in the organization, this could only be figured out with the deep level diversity. So initially we will start with the understanding of the race and ethnicity. So race as the heritage people use to identify themselves, whereas ethnicity is the additional set of cultural characteristics. So if you want to have an understanding between this race and ethnicity, race is more biological and ethnicity we relate more with the culture, okay. So we have seen in the organization, and specifically if you talk about the countries like Australia, United Kingdom and United States, many of the people were differentiating amongst the employees based on this racism and ethnicity. So as we have heard lot of stories of black and whites as well. So organizations were discriminating among these people based on the race they belongs to. But now today is the time where such kind of things are not appreciable and people does not like to be discriminated based on any such factors. Then another important aspect is the age. So people generally also keep this kind of an stereotype where organization are focusing more on having younger workforce at the workplace rather than having old age people, because young people have more energy, they have more innovative thoughts and way of doing things. But again on the other side, if you look at the other side of this coin, where people are focusing on the understanding that maybe the older employees are better for the organization because they have the experience, they have the power of making the right judgments, they have strong work ethics and they are also committed to the quality. Okay, so depending upon the perception of an individual, age can be taken up in a positive as well as in a negative format. If you look at the example given at Toffee maker of dairy free products, they are the people who are keeping more of the older employees in their organization, because the CEO David Mintz believe that older people have values and experience, work ethics is there, maturity level is there in older employees, they have more knowledge and skills. So based on that, he prefers to have older people in the organization, and this is how they are trying to set it. So, these are few of the biological characteristics, but in today's time we are also dealing with this LGBT plus community. While much has changed, but the full acceptance and accommodation of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer questioning and other gender identification employees remain at work in progress. So, gradually we are dealing with such kind of aspects also, since we have globalization and people are different in all such aspects. So, slowly and steadily organizations are also framing out policies to consider them equally in the organization and not to have discriminations among such community as well. Then there are other differentiating characteristics in the organization like tenure, the religions, gender identity as well as sexual orientation. So, tenure refers to the time period. Okay. So, it is the concept which is being discussed based on the longer duration you have spent in the organization. So, if a person has spent more time in the organization, they are more known to the system, they are well involved in the organization systems and policies. So, it will be easier for them to take up their assignments as compared to the person who is new to the organization, who is still understanding the organization, who is still into the process of getting things, how things work in this workplace, right. So, except for genders and racial differences, few issues are more subject to misconception as well as speculation than the impact of seniority and tenure, that is meaning time spent in the job or field. So, extensive reviews have been conducted of seniority productivity relationship. So, need to understand that this is again the mindset of the people, whether it works in favor or it works against. Religion is also one of the factor which is very much to be taken care under the diversity factor. Not only the people who are religious, but also the people who are not religious also questions each other's belief system, right. So, how are we going to deal out with these kind of religious conflicts, and countries are having different kind of an understanding. Again, if I talk about the countries Australia, United Kingdom and United States. Okay. So, some of the things are being differentiated in different countries based on different religions. So, organization needs to be very careful, have to be taken care of the religions of, and we have to respect each and every religions. Okay. So, whatever the policies, whatever the system we are defining should be in favor of all. And then finally, if we talk about the gender identity and sexual orientation, this again has a deep understanding on it. This is again a myth, or you can say a stereotype which is being continued since many past years, because earlier the women's were not, or you can say females were not much into the working, but now people have held a deep sense of identification with their own genders, right. So, generally what has happened or what has been seen towards the organization, where the male dominant society we are having, and they focuses more on having male members in the organization, or rather promoting the male people to the higher level in the organization. So, people's pattern of enduring physical, emotional or romantic attraction towards each other is considered to be as in sexual orientation. So, there are two words which I have written particularly, which is known as glass ceiling and glass cliff. So, glass ceiling refers to the understanding where people are keeping this notion in their mind, where they are particularly not hiring female employees for the higher positions or the higher roles in the organization, because they consider male members to be more efficient and more effective to be taken up those assignments. And contrast to this, glass cliff is a situation where particularly people are promoting females to the positions where they have the understanding that the success rate is very low. So, they generally keep female employees to those positions, and they force women to hold those assignments where the success rate is very less. Now, let us talk about the prejudice and discrimination in the organization. This prejudice words refers to the pre-notion, right. So, it is the perception and attitude presenting both generalized feeling towards a group. You have kept a kind of a certain notion in advance about a group of people or member which you are keeping in your mind while dealing with the people, and based on this prejudice we generally act into discrimination. So, our actions or behavior that creates, maintains or reinforce same group advantages over the other group as well as their member. So, discrimination is one thing where people are discriminating among the different aspects of each other, and it should not be there. Since we are talking about how we are going to deal with the management of equality and diversity, right. So, discrimination is something which will lead to the dissatisfaction, and if the employees in the organization are dissatisfied, not happy, if they are being treated in a discrimination basis, then definitely it will impact the performance of organization. So, here discrimination is nothing of a difference between things. Often we refer to the unfair discrimination, which means making judgment about individual based on stereotype regarding their demographic group. So, stereotyping is judging somebody, right. We generally say that women could not be good drivers, right, male cannot be good cooks. So, these are general things which are kind of a stereotype has been made, right. But these stereotypes, if we keeping in our mind and we would be start behaving accordingly, then the success of organizations will definitely be hampered. So, judging someone on the basis of a perception of a group to which the person belongs is not a right thing, which needs to be break, and this could only be break through knowledge and more learning and providing good informations related to the subject. So, here we have different type of discriminations, right. So, what kind of different discriminations could be applied in the organization? The very first is discriminatory policy. So, generally what happens, organizations have different policies for different set of people, which is actually not right. So, it could be defined as the action taken by the representative of the organization that deny equal opportunity to perform or unequal rewards of performance. So, if such kind of a practices are being taken up in the organization where all people are not being provided to have the equal opportunities, or they are giving them different rewards for the same performance, that this will leads to lot of dissatisfaction among the people, and this could also be a reasons of raising conflicts in the organization. Some people gets into sexual harassment as well while dealing with the discrimination, unwanted sexual advances and other verbal or physical conduct of sexual nature that create a hostile or offensive work environment is also seen in sometimes in the organization. The third type of discrimination is intimidation, where over threats or bullying, right, where you are bullying the people of specific groups or employees in the organization, maybe they are minor or they are having less in majority. So, usually commenting on them, giving them threats, bullying them is also not a right practice. Then certain people get into mockery and insult, right, joking or negative stereotypes, and sometimes these kind of joking and negative stereotypes also taken too far, where people are taking lot of negative actions on it. Then another is exclusion, where you are particularly excluding the certain set of people out of that category, right. You are not providing them the job opportunities, you are not allowing them to attend the social events, you are not involving them in the discussions, right. You are not giving them the informal mentoring also. This could also be a part of discrimination. And finally, we talk about incivility. Incivility refers to disrespectful treatment, right, including behavior in an aggressive manner, interrupting the person or ignoring their opinion where they feel low, where they are not feeling the part of the organization, where they are not being feel the self-worthy, right. So, this kind of incivility is also a type of discriminations which sometimes are being taken up in the organization. So these kind of practices will create a negative environment, and since the beginning we are talking about building the positive organizational culture where we can have the equal opportunities for employees in the organization, where we need to have a peace of mind of the individual, so that they should be treated equally and no discrimination should be there. Coming to the another aspect of our session where we would be talking about ability. Ability is a term which defines the capacity of a person to various tasks in the job, right. A person ability is very important aspect. Since we were talking about discrimination, we were talking about diversity. So ability of an individual defines how well this person could be placed to different positions and to different roles. So here we are categorizing this ability into two aspects. One is called as intellectual ability and the other is called as physical ability. So intellectual ability refers to the thinking, right. It refers to the reasoning and problem solving, right. So cognitive aspects which we generally talk about. If a person is having this intellectual ability, then we need to understand how well this person is behaving. And if you look at the dimensions of intellectual ability, we have categorized this intellectual ability into 8 different headings. The very first is number aptitude. So certain peoples are very good in this number aptitude where they are able to speedy and accurate arithmetic calculation. So not every brains works in a same way. As we have already discussed, we all are unique in our own self, right. We have different set of abilities. Intellectual abilities are also of different times. Some people have good number aptitude, the other have verbal comprehensions. They are very good in understanding, reading and hearing the relationship of the words to each other. How well they have to communicate with each other is also an intellectual ability. Then perceptual speed, right. So ability to define a logical sequence in a problem and then solve a problem. It is not everybody's cup of tea where you are able to understand the problem in a right sequence and to think of a solution to that problem. Sometimes people get confused, people get mixed up with the situation, they are not able to pick up the logic behind the problem. So certain peoples are having that kind of a perceptual speed which comes under the intellectual ability. Then people are also having inductive reasoning. Inductive reasoning refers to the ability to identify a logical sequence in the problem and then solve the problem, right. Here a person is having the logical sequence in the problem and understand what is being required, what needs to be included and how the better results we could be able to achieve. Whereas deductive reasoning refers to ability to use logic and assess the implications of the argument, where we have to reduce the overlapping of the aspect and we need to keep the specific information which has been required to solve the problem. Only that much aspect is being taken up. Some people have spatial visualization where they imagine how an object would look if its position in space were changed. So they were very good in the visualization aspect where they could be able to visualize in advance how these things could be taken up, and these kind of a people could be good architectures, right. They could be good home interior designers, right, where they have the good understanding of visualization. Certain people are able to have a very good memory, right. They have the ability to retain and recall the past experiences. Their memory works very, very sharp in that manner. So different sort of jobs require different sort of intellectual ability. Depending upon the requirement of the job, the person could have been assigned different assignments as per the ability they are having. Then last is the sample headline. This is the sample test that you can edit, you can change the font. So these kind of people could also placed at different roles where this kind of system is being required, where they have to know what kind of editing and change needs to be done. In the newspapers, right, if you talk about headlines plays a very, very important role whether this need should be read or not. So certain people who are having simple sample headline, they could be assigned those job where they could be framing such catchy headings which will attract people to read out their news. Coming to the another aspect, we have physical abilities. Physical abilities refers to the capacity to do the tasks that demand stamina, dexterity, strength and similar characteristics. So, abilities like I said are of different understanding. Intellectual ability is also at different aspects. What person is good in what aspect defines the nature of work and assignments need to be given. Likewise, the physical abilities are of different type, and here we have categorized the 9 basic physical abilities of an individual based on the strength factor, flexibility factors and the other factors. So, if you talk about the dynamic strength where exert muscular force continuously. So, again depending upon the nature of the work, the requirement of the organization, we need to see. Here we are talking about the ability, because when we are keeping the recruitment and selection processes of the organization, we should not get indulged into difference of their age, race, caste, religion. We need to focus on their abilities. What sort of abilities, intellectual abilities are being needed at the job, what sort of physical abilities are required. So, trunk strength refers to the exert muscular strength using trunk. Static strength, which is the force against the external object. Explosive strength, which expends a minimum energy in series of explosive act. Then we have extent flexibility as well as dynamic flexibility for moving trunk and back muscles, rapid and repeated flexible movements, and other factors like body coordination, balance and stamina. So, according to their ability, one should be hired, one should not keep such kind of stereotypes in their mind, one should not keep those prejudices in their mind where they are keeping those religions, those people differentiating from each others, rather focusing more on ability aspect who could be able to perform their jobs better in the organization. Now, coming to the section where we are going to understand and implement the diversity management strategies, right. How are we going to strategize our thing? How are we going to implement such things where we could be able to have the right set of people and we could be able to maintain these equality amongst all and removing all such kind of discrimination. So, the process and the program by which managers make everyone more aware of and sensitive to the needs and difference of each others are at the point of attracting the right set of people, selecting the right workforce, developing them, training them. It is important, like I said, any kind of a stereotype and prejudice can only be overcome with better knowledge, with better training. So, if our organization is providing timely information, we are providing them training regarding each other, then they would be able to develop themselves better and we could be able to retain diverse employees. So, for an organization it becomes very, very important to have they are taking care of employees while attracting, selecting, developing and retaining the diverse employees. Moving to the aspect where the organization also have to focus on creating a diverse culture and diversity climate. So, diversity culture refers to the value and prioritize diversity as well as inclusion and belief that it should be fostered within the organization. So, a success of any organization depends upon people, and if the diverse culture is not being builded, if we are not keeping people from different and the diverse background, then we will not be able to have different innovative thoughts in the organization to be taken up. Like for instance, Ultra Beauty exhibits companion diversity as a key component of its mission and value and is openly committed to magnifying, uplifting, supporting and empowering black voice in beauty. So, as you can see, people in the society are also looking forward how much importance you are giving to each and every one of the people, and you are not focusing on their differences. They are rather you are promoting individual, and in today's time organizations are using such practices where they are bringing this kind of a culture in their organization and making people believe that this place is safe for them to work in the organization. They would be satisfied dealing with them, and no discrimination will be done. A diversity climate flows from a diverse culture and reflects the shared perception of diversity and inclusion, enhancing policies, practices and procedures in the organization. In other words, if we can say, workers in diversity climates are aware that there are norms, there are policies, there are procedures that are enforced that support diversity. So, if you talk about diversity climate, we can say that organizations are creating such kind of a culture and climate for the safer the safer place for the people to work upon. Whenever they would be joining any organization, they should not be having this kind of an understanding in their mind that they are not safe. Okay. So, we have to make this kind of an ensurety while hiring the people, while selecting them. We should have such certain policies, we should have certain norms in the organization which are there to safeguard them and granting them equal access to participate with each other. So, if you look at the summary of this session, in this session we have deeply talked about the organization models, organization behavior models. These models are helping us in the understanding of how the organizations are going to keep their system, how they are going to define their culture, right. So, the kind of a system you would be implementing, accordingly you would be getting the results. If you are dealing with the autocratic style of management, then you would be getting the performance, but it would be a very minimal performance. But if you want to bring the best of your employees, if you want their 100% performance, if you want to make them more efficient and more effective all the time, then the approaches which are being used in today's time are related to the system approach, human relations model, and we have cognitive model where we can enhance the thinking of our people so that they could be able to perceive the situation and act accordingly. We need not have to tell them, we have to make them ready always, right, where they could be acting upon these situations and getting things done by themselves. Thereafter, we have discussed about the biological characteristics in details. We have talked about the concept of diversity and how people are different from each other. It is very important for us to know about the differences in the biological characteristics, and the most important aspect here is sometimes we are able to make the difference among the surface level diversity, but we need to get more into the deep level diversity by communicating with those employees and assigning them the projects. Abilities, as I have discussed with you, different type of abilities are there, intellectual abilities are also there, and physical abilities. Depending upon the nature of work requirement, one should focus on the ability rather than getting into discrimination. And organization has to focus on diversity program where they can work on managing this right set of people in the organization. Diversity management, as we all know, is an ongoing commitment, right. So, that crosses all level of the organization, which is to be taken care of round the clock. There should be assignments which should be given on regular basis, and there should be policies also driven to improve the climate for diversity, which could be effective, and diversity management can be learned. So, organization behavior is one subject which is helping in having the right set of people in the organization, where we are trying to provide a safe and the secure environment for the people, where the organizations will be taking care of the well-being of their employees, so that a kind of a psychological contract could be built up and we could be able to get the results in accordance to our expectations, because basically to get the results from the people we have to create a right force. So, these are some reference books which are being kept for the sessions. I hope you all are able to understand what we have discussed in today's class. Thank you everyone.
I am A.K. Sharma. and I am professor of sociology at IIT Kanpur. The question I am going to address is what is urbanization? Urbanization is essentially the process of population concentration, which means that if more people start living in a smaller number of places, or if the distribution of population becomes more unequal, like more people living in places like Bombay, Calcutta, Mexico, then we say that the urbanization is taking place. Essentially, it means increase in percentage of population living in areas or localities which are defined as urban. Urbanization is a new phenomenon, of course, a post-industrial phenomenon. About 200 years ago, hardly 5% population of the world lived in urban areas, and today more than 50% population of the world is living in urban areas or localities which are classified as urban. You will be happy to know that according to 2011 census of India, in our own country for the first time, increase in the urban population has been greater than the increase in the rural population, though India is not so urban as the developed countries, and about 31% population of India only is living in urban areas. We can believe that in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years time, India will also be more urban, at least more urban than what it is. It may not be 80%, but certainly it will be 35% or 40%. Now, how is this urban locality defined? Because this definition of locality as urban or rural is crucial to measure level of urbanization. I will give you definition of our own country. In Indian census, an urban locality is defined in two ways. There are statutory towns and there are census towns. All places with municipality, municipal corporation, cantonment or notified town area committees are called urban. This is statutory definition. According to demographic definition, there are three main criteria. If a locality has more than 5,000 people, or 75% of male labor force is engaged in non-agricultural activities, or the density of population is 400 per square kilometer or 1000 per square mile, then we say that the locality may be classified as urban. There are many other additions to this definition. Now, we have the concept of urban agglomeration and many other things, but essentially this is how urban population is defined in India. And as I said that urbanization is associated with economic development and industrialization, same is the case with India. About 100 years ago in India, only 11% people were living in urban areas. Today 31% are living in urban areas, and this is obviously linked with economic development of the country, growth of per capita income and industrialization. I remember that in one 5-year plan it was mentioned that today this urban population can grow by way of natural increase of births minus deaths in the urban areas itself or through rural to urban migration. Today nearly 60% contribution to growth of urban population is due to rural to urban migration, and this is going to increase. This is essentially what urbanization means. Urbanization means growth of population in localities defined as urban in relation to population of localities defined as rural, and I have given you Indian definition. Thank you very much.